Hi everyone. I thought I'd share with you a classroom experiment that I used to use when I used to teach economics quite a few years ago. And it's on the law of demand. It was created by Nicholas G. Rupp of East Carolina University. This classroom experiment was actually a very helpful way of explaining the idea that the quantity demanded of a good falls when the price of the good rises, or in other words, people buy less when the price increases. This experiment involved a few fun things. It was a fun and meaningful way for students to understand how this works. And I would give each student a bag that had 5 sticks of gum and 5 post-it notes. And then I would tell them that they're welcome to keep all the contents with them, but that they weren't going to eat it right away, but that they were going to engage in a trading game, and they could, if they wanted to, trade the gum, but they didn't have to trade the gum if they didn't want to. So once I had laid out those rules, then I would show them a bag of snack-sized chocolates that I would have, and the class would, of course, break out into peals of joy. And I would then ask them whether they'd be willing to trade a piece of gum for a piece of chocolate. If they were, then they would write yes on their post-it note, and if they didn't want to, they would write no. I had a student allocated as the tally person, and they would be the ones to collect the post-it notes and keep a record of how many were willing to trade. So, as part of this, I was able to help students to understand that they always face a trade-off with whatever they have, whether it's their time, their money, their things, and the trade-off was, when you have to give up something to get something else, and the thing that you gave up was usually the opportunity cost. So I'm going to kind of pause here and ask you to pause. And I have a question for you if you're a cohort member peer reviewing this. What has been the opportunity cost for you to enroll in this teacher certificate program? For example, for me, it's the giving up of sacrificing of some teaching in as a substitute teacher. It's also the sacrifice of the financial aspect related to it, as well as sacrifice of a few hours of sleep and commitments as a parent in the school in which my children study. Okay, moving on. So we would then successively play a couple of rounds: round 2, round 3, round 4, and 5. And so, for example, in round 2, I would say, would you be willing to trade 2 pieces of gum for a piece of chocolate? And they would again, write down whether it was yes or no. In round 6, we would do the actual trade. And to make this happen, I would roll a dice, and whatever number we would get, that would be the price of the chocolate. So, for example, if I got 4 on that dice, I would say, who would like to trade their gum for a piece of chocolate? And the price of a piece of chocolate is 4 pieces of gum. So once they did that, we would finally trade. And, as they would sit and eat their candy, we would have a group discussion on what actually happened. And our tally person would then actually draw up a table to show us how many people were willing to pay the price in each successive round for a piece of chocolate. And we discussed what happens to the number of people willing to trade their gum as the price of the chocolate rises. And clearly, it keeps falling. And so then I would get the students to draw a graph. And this was a great intuitive way for them to understand even the idea of a downward sloping graph or an inverse relationship between two different variables. So it was very helpful, this activity, because, of course, candy in class is a great motivator, although extremely unhealthy. They gain an intuitive understanding of the idea of an inverse relationship between the price of the product and a quantity that is demanded. There's always a trade-off in whatever we do. And the students actually enjoyed applying this to their daily lives. And at the end, they would be using the word opportunity cost, even when they referred to, for example, if they picked a CCA, what was the opportunity cost? What would they be given up to be able to do that CCA? Or if they chose to use their recess time to go to the library, what would be the opportunity cost for that? And so this was a great experiment. Well, thank you for watching.